There's been so much talk about NIL. I thought about, we always talk about all the negatives of NIL. There are a lot of positive things, and I just wanted to talk about them a little bit. The players have to learn to make money, and that's what everybody does when they get out. So all we're doing is we're making them grow up a little bit faster, and they're learning how to make money at an earlier age. Then they have to learn how to deal with an agent, whether it's a marketing agent or an agent. If that agent's going to help them with opportunities, because that's what this is supposed to be about, then they have to learn how to deal with saving that money and using that money, but they also have to learn about taxes. And those are things that we didn't learn at an early age. It was later. And now they're being forced to grow up much earlier, but then they're also learning about internships. Because a lot of our program with NIL is to get an internship for a young guy that's going to work with somebody now in a trade that they'd like to work with when they get through. So we're speeding that process up, and it's really a good process, and that'll help them with life after football. When NIL came up, none of us really knew what it meant, and we didn't know where it was going, and we didn't know what would happen. And Sam handled it more mature than anybody could have ever handled it. He wouldn't do any opportunity without involving his teammates or without it being for charity. I mean, people offered him a suit to go to the ACC Media Day. He said, not unless my teammates get suits too. The first opportunity was to feed underprivileged kids in Orange County. He had a photo shoot with one opportunity, and he wanted all the offensive linemen with him. So Sam was a dream as a player, as a teammate, and as an initial meaning for NIL for us. And you hear players coming to coaches and asking for deals, and I'm not going to play unless I get this deal, and we've had none of that. Our players have been so good, and I think that credit should go to our players, but also to Heels for Life, because they're the ones that are working hard to get opportunities for players that deserve it. And that's the way it's supposed to work, and I have to applaud the people that set that up for us moving forward. Yes, there are people that are going beyond what they're supposed to do with NIL. Absolutely, 100%. And we have had players on our team that have been approached by other teams. It's usually through a player. So it's not tampering, they think, if they're not calling, if they're not talking. But if it's a high school teammate or another player, then it gets very, very gray. So you have to recruit your players to get them here. Then you have to recruit your players to stay. And then when you look at transfer portal, a whole lot of the issues, that you have to look at character, you have to look at grades. But a lot of the transfer portal guys, it's about the NIL opportunities that they have before you can get them too. So it's prevalent, it's real, it's an issue for all of us, and it's something that needs to be looked at very closely. Like I said, there are a lot of good things that we don't talk about because the bad things are so big. So I understand all the good that we've gotten out of it, but it needs to be looked at over here, or we're going to lose who we are as college football. But the NIL is harder to fix. Because what do? How do you stop it? You don't want to do away with it, but how do you put the guardrails up? How do you put the guidelines up? And I agree with whatever Nick and Dabo said, that I don't think it's good, and I don't think it's sustainable with the bad things that are happening with NIL, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be stopped, or it's going to change the direction of college football. Or else I've tried to figure that out. I've looked at it because I like to get them all committed in February. Yeah. I mean, that's been my deal. And right now it's slower. I think in studying it's slower across the country. And people are wanting, since COVID's out of the way, they're actually getting to go take unofficial visits. And it seems like everybody wants to take an unofficial visit, and then they want to take an official visit before they make their decision. And I think a lot of people will be making decisions in May and June. And that's what we're feeling and hearing. Coach, let me come back for an official visit because I want to spend time with players. And the last 2 years, COVID was really difficult for all of us. We talked to the pro scouts, and they said it was hard. I said, yeah, we didn't even get to meet some of the guys we had to sign. It was so crazy. But I feel like we're in good shape. We've got good names. There's a lot of interest. I don't feel like that this year has the same amount of players that last year did in state and even in Virginia. So we're having to go a little bit more out of our footprint, which is tougher, because I'd rather sign the guys closer to home. So I think that's slowing us down some. Probably change of coaches. You change 3 key positions, and they did not have background in recruiting your footprint, so then they have to reintroduce themselves, and that slows things down a little bit more. But I feel good.